Good day everyone, I'm Kent Albricho Ohabate, the leader of this group, and join us to explore the fascinating world of Earth and space, discovering the wonders of our planet and the universe. What is the Matatag Science Curriculum? The Matatag Science Curriculum, an essential part of the Matatag Curriculum from the Department of Education, which is the DepEd. It aims to enhance science education in the Philippines. It emphasizes nurturing learners who are scientifically literate and possess the knowledge, skills, and values necessary for the 21st century. Its goals is to equip learners with the abilities and knowledge necessary to explore, innovate, and work together to tackle real-world challenges. The contents of this topic is the non-living environment, the weather pattern, and the celestial objects.
This is Marilyn M. Ibarra for the non-living environment. The non-living environment. Non-living things can be found anywhere. The non-living things found in the environment are the sources of useful products. Some of the useful non-living things are rocks and minerals, air, water, glass, plastic, and steel. Rocks and minerals used to build homes, roads, and even electronics. Air, it is essential for breathing and powering wind turbines. Water, used for drinking, agriculture, and generating electricity. Glass, used for windows and bottles. Plastic, used to protect goods, extends shelf life, and makes transportation easier. Steel, used in cars, buildings, and appliances. For the specific content topic of the non-living environment, the learners participate in guided activities to locate and describe different types of non-living things found in and around their school, such as rocks, soil, water, air, metals, clouds, rain, and sunlight. Identify some useful things that people have made from non-living materials and describe what natural materials have been used to make the items. Recognize that the non-living materials that make up the environment are referred to as earth materials. Participate in guided activities to locate and describe different types of non-living things found in and around their school, such as rocks, soil, water, air, metals, clouds, rain, and sunlight. By participating in guided activities, students will understand that non-living things are all around us, and they will also learn to identify and describe different types of non-living things. Identify some useful things that people have made from non-living materials and describe what natural materials have been used to make the items. By letting the students go and look around them, they will be able to identify and list down all the things they see that are made from non-living materials. They might find wood furniture, glassware, or even clay pots. A mini field trip will be a helpful activity for the students. Wood furniture. Wood is the main material used to create tables, chairs, beds, and even houses. Glassware. Glass has been used for centuries to create windows, bottles, and other projects. Clay pottery. Clay was used to create pots, bowls, and other containers for storing food, water, and other goods. Recognize that the non-living materials that make up the environment are referred to as earth materials. By understanding the concept of earth materials, the students can better appreciate the interconnectedness of our planet and the importance of responsible stewardship of its resources. The term earth materials helps us categorize and understand the vast array of materials or resources that come from our planet. Earth materials are everywhere. From the rocks to the air we breathe, earth materials surround us. They are the building blocks of our planet. Earth materials are diverse. They come in many forms, including rocks, minerals, soil, water, and even air, which all has unique properties and uses. Earth materials are valuable. We rely on each materials for countless things, including building materials, energy resources, food production, and even medicine. Earth materials need protection. Earth materials are finite sources. It's crucial to use them sustainably and protect the planet from pollution and overexploitation. Teaching strategies and assessment methods. Teaching strategies. Hands-on exploration. Take students on a stroll around the school and have them collect different non-living things. Interactive learning. Have the students describe each object in front of the class using their senses that they collected. Assessment method. Project-based method. Have the students create an art using natural materials like rocks, leaves, and twigs.
Good day everyone, I am Jeneline Julian and I will discuss the patterns in the weather. Patterns in the weather. Weather pattern. Weather pattern occurs when the weather stays the same for days or weeks at a time. This pattern occurs when certain atmospheric conditions such as temperature, pressure, humidity, and wind direction remains relatively stable over a particular area. Some common weather patterns include hot and dry weather, wet and rainy weather, and cold weather. Hot and dry weather. During summer and spring, the weather pattern is commonly hot and dry. This is associated with high temperature. That's why when you go outside with your ice cream, it may melt. And during this pattern of weather, people try to stay cool using the air conditioning or going for a swim. Cold weather. During winter, the weather pattern is cold, and temperatures are usually the lowest they will be all year. This weather pattern is good. This could result in snow because of the low temperature. When the weather pattern is cold, people wear hats, sweaters, jackets, and mittens to keep warm. Rainy weather. A rainy weather pattern typically occurs during the spring and summer months when the atmosphere is warm and moisture-rich. During this season, there is often an increase in low-pressure systems that bring warm, moist air into an area. As the warm rises, it cools, causing the water vapor to condense into the clouds, which can eventually lead to precipitation or rainfall. Rainy weather can be helpful to the environment because it provides water for plants to grow and for animals to drink. Farmers also need rainwater so their crops do not dry out. And unusual and long-lasting weather patterns. There are two unusual weather patterns that can happen during the year in the Pacific Ocean. These patterns are called El Niño and La Niña. El Niño happens when a change in the weather pattern makes the weather warmer than it could normally be. This leads to a variety of weather changes across the globe, and understanding El Niño helps meteorologists predict and prepare for unusual climate conditions. La Niña happens when a change in weather pattern makes the weather colder than it normally would be. La Niña happens when the Pacific Ocean cools down, leading to weather that is colder and wetter in some areas, and drier and warmer in others. It's a natural climate phenomenon that affects the global weather system. The El Niño and La Niña weather patterns can last for a year or longer. When a weather pattern lasts too long, dangerous emergencies can occur. Some examples of these kinds of emergencies are heat waves, floods, and blizzards. For the specific content topic of the patterns in the weather, the learners Observe and record changes in the weather during a day or over some days and describe the different types and patterns of weather that occur in the local area. Describe how changes in the weather can affect daily activities and explain how some types of weather can be dangerous for people. Weather observation. Observing all daily weather is part of a regular routine for many of us, helping us decide what to wear and which activities we will do each day. Similar observations of atmospheric conditions are also required by meteorologists to develop those weather forecasts with which we are all familiar. Observation methods. Key observations of the atmosphere that helps forecasters predict the weather. First, temperature is how warm or cool the air is in the atmosphere. It is a measure of energy or heat present in the air, and it determines whether we experience warm or cool conditions. Temperature is typically measured using a thermometer and expressed in units like Celsius or Fahrenheit. Next is humidity. Humidity measures how much moisture is present in the atmosphere. It affects how we perceive temperature on a humid day. This is because the moisture in the air prevents sweat from evaporating off our skin, which normally helps us cool down. As a result, our bodies struggle to regulate temperature, making us feel warmer. Next is precipitation. Is any form of water falling from the clouds. The most common forms that you may be familiar with are snow and rain. It affects temperature. Rain often cools the air, while snow can bring colder conditions. These weather changes can impact human activities such as travel, outdoor events, and daily routines. Next is air pressure. Air pressure is the force exerted by the weight of air molecules in a specific area. The more air molecules pack into an area, the higher the pressure. It plays a key role in weather patterns and can affect things like wind and storms, and can influence things like how hard it's to breathe at high altitudes. Next is wind. Wind is the movement of air from areas of high pressure to low pressure. This movement helps balance air pressure differences in the atmosphere. Changes in air pressure can also lead to the formation of clouds, as well as the movement of dust and water vapor through the air. These same factors have been used since the first weather observation were recorded. However, the types of and quality of weather instrument and the methods of analyzing observation have changed significantly. These are weather instruments: thermometer, anemometer, hygrometer, rain gauge, wind vane, snow gauge, and barometer. So the teaching strategies for this is first, interactive discussions. Create a visual map with students showing different types of weather patterns and how they relate to changes in the environment, like temperature, humidity, and air pressure. Second is hands-on observation and data collection. Have students keep a daily weather journal for a week, recording observations such as temperature, cloud cover, wind speed, and any changes they observe. This hands-on activity will encourage active engagement. The assessment method for this is formative assessment, daily journals, or logs. Review students' daily weather logs to assess their ability to observe and accurately record weather conditions. Provide feedback on their observational skills and data accuracy. Next is effects of weather on daily activities. Weather has significant impact on our daily lives. While good weather can boost physical activity, improve mood, and increase social interactions, extreme weather or bad conditions can have the opposite effect, making people less active. Extreme weather like very hot, cold, windy, or wet conditions can make outdoor activities difficult or uncomfortable. causing people to stay indoors. This can reduce physical activity and social interactions. On the other hand, pleasant weather encourages outdoor activities such as sports, picnics, and social gatherings, promoting more physical and social engagement. Next is dressing for the weather involves choosing clothes based on current and forecasted conditions to stay comfortable and safe. For example, in hot weather, wearing light clothes and sunscreen protect from sunburn, while in cold weather, layering clothes helps keep warm. Dressing appropriately ensures our comfort, health, and well-being. Next, weather conditions play a key role in planning transportation routes for delivery logistics. Factors such as rain, snow, fog, and extreme temperatures can affect road conditions and transportation efficiency. In regions prone to adverse weather, delivery routes may need to be adjusted to avoid hazardous roads or areas prone to flooding or snow accumulation to ensure safe and timely deliveries. Next is weather has a significant influence on farming and crop growth. Crops require a balance of sunlight, temperature, and rainfall to grow properly. When weather conditions are too extreme like floods, droughts, or extreme temperatures, it can harm or even destroy crops. This can lead to crop failure, which affects the food supply and can drive up prices due to reduced availability. Weather impacts wildfire, how animals behave and where they live. Changes in temperature, rainfall, and seasons influence migration, breeding, and food availability. Extreme weather events like hurricanes or wildfire can disrupt ecosystem and harm animals' population, often causing long-term damage to their survival and habitats. According to U.S. Global Change Research Program's National Climate Assessment, extreme weather events can also increase exposure to the environment conditions that can harm health. So these are hurricanes and coastal storms generate projectiles and debris that can cause injury during the event. They can also increase the potential for hazardous chemicals and waterborne and vector-borne pathogens to spread through communities and environment due to facility damage, storm surge, and flooding. Extreme heat can lead to exhaustion, heat cramps, heat stroke, and heat-related death. People with chronic lung or heart illness or other conditions are at greater risk of heart-related complications. So the teaching strategies for this is first, class discussion. Have class discussion on how different types of weather can affect people's health, transportation, work, and recreational activities. Second is using pictures and videos. Show pictures and videos from current events or past examples of weather events like hurricanes, snowstorms, floods to illustrate both the impacts on daily life and the dangers involved. For example, discussing how a heat wave affects outdoor work or how a snowstorm impacts travel. The assessment method for this is formative assessment. Use quick assessment during the lesson like thumbs up and down questions, where students express what they have learned or identify areas they are still confused about.
The first celestial objects are the planets. These are large celestial bodies that revolve around the star. In our solar system, there are 8 planets, including the Earth, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. The planets are divided into 2, the inner planets and the outer planets. These inner planets are also known as terrestrial planets because they have solid surfaces. The first inner planet is the Mercury. Again, what is the first inner planet? Very good. The Mercury. The Mercury is the planet nearest to the Sun and the smallest planet in our solar system. Again, what is the planet nearest to the Sun and the smallest planet in our solar system? That's right, the Mercury. The next inner planet is the Venus. Again, what is the second planet in the inner planets? Correct. The Venus is the second planet from the Sun and the sixth largest planet. Again, what is the second planet from the Sun and the sixth largest planet? Very good. The Venus. The next inner planet is the Earth. The Earth is our home planet. It's the third planet from the Sun and the fifth largest planet. Again, what is our home planet and the third planet from the Sun and also the fifth largest planet? Very good. The Earth. The Earth is our home planet. The next and last inner planet is Mars. Mars is the fourth planet from the Sun and the seventh largest planet. Again, what is the fourth planet from the Sun and the seventh largest planet in our solar system? That's right, the Mars. Again, what is the four inner planets? That's correct. The Mercury, the Venus, the Earth, and Mars. Let's move on to the outer planets. So the outer planets are the giant planets in our solar system that don't have hard surfaces. Instead, they have swirling gases above a core. Jupiter and Saturn are gas giants, and Uranus and Neptune are ice giants. And the first outer planet is the Jupiter. The Jupiter is the fifth planet from the Sun and the largest planet in our solar system. Again, what is the fifth planet from the Sun? Very good, the Jupiter. The next outer planet is the Saturn. The Saturn is the sixth planet from the Sun and the second largest planet in our solar system. Again, what is the sixth planet from the Sun? That's right, the Saturn. The third planet in the outer planets is Uranus. The Uranus is the seventh planet from the Sun and the third largest planet in our solar system. Again, what is the seventh planet from the Sun and the third largest planet in our solar system? That's right, the Uranus. And the last outer planet in our solar system is the Neptune. Neptune is the eighth and most distant planet in our solar system. It's the fourth largest planet. Again, what is the eighth and most distant planet in our solar system? That's right, the Neptune. Again, what is the four outer planets? Very good! The Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and the Neptune. And now, let's move on to the next celestial objects. The stars. These are the luminous celestial objects composed of gases that emit light and heat. The Sun is an example of the star. Again, what is the luminous celestial object composed of gases that emit light and heat? Very good, the stars. Next one is the asteroids. The asteroids, these are small, rocky objects that orbit the Sun, mostly found in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Again, what is the most found in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter? That's correct, the asteroids. The next one is the comets. The comets, these are icy bodies that orbit the sun and develop a coma and sometimes a tail as they approach the sun's heat. Again, what are the icy bodies that orbit the sun? That's great! The comets! The last celestial object is the galaxies. These are massive systems of stars, stellar remnants, interstellar dust, dark matter, and various types of nebulae. The Milky Way is an example of a galaxy. Again, what is the last celestial object? That's great, the galaxies. And what are the 5 celestial objects? That's right, the planets, the stars, the asteroids, the comets, and the galaxies. And as a teacher, so I suggest the teaching strategies is the hands-on learning. For example, modeling a solar system. Have students create a physical model of solar system using various material like the styrofoam balls, clay, or colored paper to represent the planets. This will help them visualize the size and position of the planets relative to each others. And another one is using pictures and videos. And for example, showing images from telescopes, space missions, and spacecraft. Videos from NASA or documentaries can provide clear visual of celestial objects like planets, stars, and the moons. And for the assessment method, we can use a project-based method. For example, the solar system model. Have students create a 3D model or diorama of the solar system, showing the planets, their positions, and other celestial objects. This allows students to demonstrate their understanding of the relative sizes, positions, and the characteristics of celestial bodies.